Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask Adam Live. Ask, as you know, is the acronym for Always Seek Knowledge. This and each and every episode, I hope, does just that. Encourages you to seek knowledge. Always seek knowledge. Learn a little bit more about yourself, about others, and the world you live in. I think you will soon find that the more you know about yourself, the more you learn about others, and the more you pay attention to your environment, not politics, mind you, but just the world you live in. What's going on? Why things happen? When you seek that knowledge and you understand, I think you'll understand a lot more why people do things, how things happen, as well as how you can react and how you can do things in this thing called life. That brings us to this great episode, Strategic Yes and a Courageous No. Let's get started. Strategic Yes and a Courageous No. Your future is shaped as much by what you decline as what you pursue. Every yes costs something. The question is it costing you? You find yourself overcommitment or overcommitted, possibly at the risk each day of burnout? Are you a people pleaser? Possibly saying yes to avoid discomfort and losing focus because everything feels important. You're not alone. Most people think success comes from adding more. However, the high performers, they know success comes from subtraction, elimination, getting rid of things. I can share with you that I gained a lot of success with several of my career pivots. Going from one job to the next, sure, scary as hell to walk away from a paycheck and go to being an independent contractor where honestly, every day you woke up, you were unemployed and you were basically finding the next job, the next contract to sign, whether it was helping someone sell their home or helping someone find a home. Maybe it was that long drawn out commercial operation that seemed to take forever for things to occur. Maybe it was, especially when it was contingent on something, commercial. I can share with you that probably most of the stress in my life came from that little over a decade of being in the real estate business. Yeah, I started to create consistent business where, quite frankly, I had it dialed in pretty accurately to know what actions created results, knowing that I was fading away from the being unemployed part. I know that sounds drastic, but it's meant to sound that way. Because honestly, you do. When you are an independent contractor, you wake up without a job. And you pretty much, I remember my first 6 months, I had that mindset. And it served me well because I showed up every day and I did things that were difficult, knowing it was going to lead to something. It had to lead to something. And it was that foundation of doing some of those hard things, making phone calls, licking stamps, back when mailing things was the norm, and writing things out by hand, not having the use of a whole lot of technology at the time. I can tell you it was that hard work that made every cent I made and earned so much more worth it. And now with technology and the utilization of software and apps and the fact that, gosh, even as early as 2005, 2008, they already knew what demographics of individuals were in the certain price point of certain homes and neighborhoods and who was looking, as well as to know that the average statistic of the person getting married and how many kids they were going to have and what square footage of a home. Trust me, they don't build homes by accident. That's a huge investment for a developer. And when you look and say, wow, they're really building large houses today, it's because that's what's selling. And sadly, and I'm going to get off on a tangent, so I will stop here. But sadly, they don't build starter homes anymore. But nonetheless, that's my personal opinion. I'm only sharing with you that career pivots, well, yeah, they can be scary sometimes. Opportunities look good, but weren't aligned. I saw several of those too in my real estate career, connecting with a potential partner. They had all the leads and they had a great business strategy and they were working with several investors. So as things were on kind of the downslope, this was the perfect option to pair up with somebody that already had some of that peripheral business going on that rode us through some of those financial uh, downturns, if you will. I try not to think of them. That's why the words can't come out. It's not a downturn, it's a market adjustment. But nonetheless, we weren't aligned. I learned to protect time, energy, and my vision while building this empire known as Ask Adam. Experiencing that not everything and everyone needs your attention. That was probably the one thing that I learned was to designate and delegate that which doesn't serve me, that which is serving me but doesn't need to be done by me. That was some of the best decisions that I made were to stop doing certain things because I now needed to be a lot more strategic with my time. Remember, my first year in real estate, I had nothing else to do but work. I gave up a full time job that pretty much had me preoccupied, pre busy, and working about 4.5 days a week and enjoying some time off. Not to mention, I did take a personal secret. Anytime I made one of those pivots, I segued. It was a 2 week segue where I forecasted, planned, and strategized that I was going to take 2 weeks off. I wasn't going to stop something on a Friday and start something else on a Monday. I took 2 weeks off. Each time I did this pivot. And I'll share with you the secret why is because I didn't want to take anything from the past that I learned that didn't serve me and then bring it to the next new endeavor and start to create some level of resentment. I wanted to start fresh with a clear mind. So I usually went somewhere. I know it seems ironic, quit a job and go on vacation. But it was because things were negotiated. I was going to start at a specific time, or I planned that I would start at a specific time working for myself. And that being said, I was going to start fresh. I was going to start with new eyes, with new energy, with myself, my true self. Nothing harbored from before, only lessons learned and what I wasn't going to repeat because I now know better. Like I said, the real estate thing of learning how to be a lot more protective of my time, to be more efficient with my energy, and to focus on the vision. There's something to be said for the solopreneur because when you start getting partners involved, then all of a sudden you have new ideas and different ideas and the competitive nature of those ideas. So if you're going at it alone, I applaud you. You're doing great. But also understand that to stop doing certain things are going to be the best decisions that you can make. They're going to free up your time, going to free up your energy. What I promise today is I'll give you a 5-part strategy, as I seem to always have 5 parts. Yes, a framework to make these aligned decisions, protect your energy, and confidently say no without guilt. Can I get a hand of all of those people? A digital hand, if you will, would be great. That you don't like saying no because there's this little pit down here in your inter abdomen that just twists like a gigantic ship's knot when you say no. Well, that's great because today we're going to uncover how to get rid of that. we're going to look into how to not feel guilty about saying no. This is self-care, saying no. So let's look at it. Part one, why saying no feels so hard. You're like me, or like I was. People struggle with no because of fear of rejection. Maybe the fear of missing out. Maybe it's the desire for approval. You're always seeking to get someone's attention. Probably too many people, by the way. Maybe it's that scarcity mindset that you've had or developed because saying no is missing out. Maybe it's the identity attachment of, if I say no, what will they think? Will I become the outcast because I always say no? Well, I can tell you, when you become successful, they're going to want you to say yes, and they're going to entice you and challenge you and ask you and probably even beg to say yes. So then the ball will be more in your court. So get rid of those attachments and scarcity thinking and the desire for approval, because all that's just nuggeted into a consumption of your time to do something that, well, if it doesn't serve you, it's probably not a good sort or solution for your time, especially if you're building a business. Now, I'm going to put some icing on that cake to say, if it's a great networking opportunity, then obviously you need to say yes, and we'll get into that later. But I share with you these because it ties in to the fear of rejection that I talk about in the Toxic 10, and the hesitation and the self-doubt if you do say no because of these, right? Fear of missing out and rejection and the desire of somebody's approval. Well, if somebody's approval has a lot to do with your success and you're constantly looking at Yelp reviews or whatnot, hey, not everybody's going to be happy. So if you're trying to make your clients and customers happy in your business or even in your personal life to make yourself happy, and you think that hanging out with some friends on any given night is going to be part of that solution in building your business or in helping your well-being, well, you need to ask yourself a few things, and we can look into that. Many people say yes emotionally and then resent it later strategically. Every unnecessary yes creates a hidden pressure. Let's look at the strategic yes framework. The filter through version. Ask yourself, when you're going to say yes, does this move me forward or away from the future that I want? This is a future of either your business or your personal life. If it drains focus, meaning this activity, if it delays the priorities you have in place, does it create possibly some unnecessary chaos in your life or in your business? Well, I can share with you this might not be a good fit. As I mentioned before, purpose in motion, by having that, you're going to find no a lot more easy to say. You're going to have that no muscle more activated. If you go back to the one-page life strategy, it's the same thing. That no muscle will become much more apparent to utilize because you will have seen that it's not to your benefit. It's not a good fit. Maybe it's a consumption of your time. If you're having a creative day, okay. If maybe hanging out with some friends and they give you creative ideas or they give you a different perspective on life, maybe you go enjoy yourself in nature with your friends. Well, that's great. Maybe it helps keep you grounded. Those are certainly good yeses. But if it's time consuming and if it's going to have, well, let's just say some after effects from over celebratory behaviors where you now spend the next day in recovery mode, well, that's probably not the best use of your time. So you need to measure the real cost, because every commitment is going to cost something. It's either going to cost your time, meaning not only the time of the event, but maybe the after effects of the event. And maybe it's not even that. What if your participation in something is some travel time, right? If you go to an event somewhere away from where you're at, is there some travel time? Is that a 2 to 3 hour drive or a couple hour flight? You encompass all that time. Is it really to your benefit? How about the energy? Now, I know that traveling consumes a lot of energy, whether we admit it or not. There's a lot of stress that goes with traveling. Although there's some excitement, it's still a consumption of energy, as well as attention, because you're focused on the travel. Maybe you're focused on the event. Maybe you're focused on the things. This is taking away from your recovery time, as well as taking away from your creative time. Again, your recovery capacity. Now, if doing this activity is draining your energy, taking your attention, and consuming a lot of time, and then you're going to now have to recover from that, is this working your recovery muscle that much harder? Because, in the mindset of self-care, which we talk about all the time as well, you've got to have that. And you have a certain amount of capacity for recuperating, if you will, and recovering. So if you're naturally exploring or experiencing the recovery as challenging, maybe going out and having to do something that requires even more recovery is just adding to the actions of your recovery time. Again, we're still talking consumption here. So let's start measuring out what that yes truly looks like on the back end, and ask, what will this require of me? In fact, place that top of mind. What will this require from me? I might even put a little caveat on that to say, in total, what will this require from me in total? What's the whole encompass of time consumed, energy utilized, attention, distracted attention, and the recovery capacity? What does all that look like? And once you start sort of bouncing that against those things, well, that no comes pretty comfortable, doesn't it? Right? When you're looking at self-care and you've worked a lot to be fit and to be energized and to have the person that you see in the mirror and you really admire and like now, and you've seen that change, and somebody says, hey, let's go out and eat some junk food, do you really want to go do that? Or does that no become pretty confident when you say, no, I like what I saw this morning, I don't want to disrupt that? Or I know what recovery feels like when I go eat junk food, so no, I don't think I want to do that today. See how that becomes quite natural to just say no? Or maybe it is a yes with a caveat, right? What will this require from me? Okay, I can give a little bit of time, but I can't indulge in your pleasures because I just don't have that recovery time. Because you don't want to just look at it as what would you gain. Like, it was pretty easy for me to do a lot of social activities, again, with real estate. Hey, where there's a networking event, there's a wine and mingle thing at the financial office. Well, that was great, but it was the consumption of time. It was the talking to people. It was maybe an adult beverage. Now I didn't feel so good. Then I went home. Did I still have some things on my desk to wrap up? And I began to find myself procrastinating because, well, the day was spent. By the time I actually got home, it was late, and my business energy drained. So what did it actually cost me? And did I actually gain anything from it, such as some clientele or some networking time? Separate the opportunity from the alignment. Not every good opportunity is your opportunity. Wow, that's huge. I'm going to say that again. Not every good opportunity is your opportunity. Some things are distractions disguised as opportunities. Many successful people have mastered this. You want to be successful, you want to be like them and emulate them. I'm sharing with you some really good gems here. This is the gold nuggets of success. Distractions are disguised as opportunities. Ego invitations. How do those feel? When somebody really would like you to be there because you're the GOAT. Well, are you? And after this event and participation, whatever it might be, are you still going to be the GOAT? Are you going to feel like the GOAT? Right? Or how about the urgency traps? Hey, we're going to do this on tonight. We're putting it together. We'd really like you to be there. Well, if it's something that wasn't planned out, I got to feel, well, in my professional opinion, that it's not strategic and in good alignment for you, that it's just kind of a nice meet and greet and probably a good reason to just mingle, right? Somebody needed somewhere to go and something to do and invite a bunch of people, and it showed up on your email and the invitations for tonight. Well, that's not good. Ask yourself, remember, separate the opportunity from alignment, because alignment beats availability. If it doesn't align with your goals, it doesn't align with your personal well-being and how you feel, because you're feeling good at this moment, right? Here's the scenario. You had an energizing morning. You got up, you did your breath work, your prep work, your meditation, you wrote in your journal, you strategically looked at your business line, you got everything done. Maybe you had a nice, healthy lunch, something in a bag, something that was nutritious, light, kept your energy up. Then you get this invitation to, hey, we're going to come and have drinks and hors d'oeuvres in the evening. It's a meet and greet. We're going to mingle. We're going to do this. Does that align with your true values and what you want to do? Personally, how you're feeling, let alone in your business. Is this a business engagement that's going to create more business, maybe connect you with some people? Well, alignment beats availability. You don't have to be available for something that doesn't align with you. And here's where the rubber really meets the road is unless this is, hey, just found out so-and-so is in town. I have an exclusive location that they're willing to meet some strategic people for about 2 hours. I'd like you to be there. If this aligns with your business, and this is someone who's going to help you in your business, someone who you want to strategically partner with in your business, someone that is truly in alignment with what you're going to do, absolutely. Hey, I'm not here to squash your success. Go out and do it. But you don't have to eat the hors d'oeuvres. You don't have to consume the adult beverages, and you don't have to stay there for 3 hours. In and out. Show up, meet the strategic person, maybe one or two others, and step out. Holding a glass of water is not offensive these days. In fact, you're on a cleanse. It's the easiest out. You're on a cleanse. Hey, I'm on a 30-day cleanse. I'm on a... They don't know. They don't care. They might even admire you for the discipline that you're... Just, if you need something, grab a water. Keep yourself hydrated, meet and greet, and step out. You don't have to close the show. Remember, it's your alignment. Your availability is limited, strategic. Be strategic with your yes. That's if you're going to do it. That's your only out. Other than that, that scenario was actually structured more for a good no. Build courageous boundaries. See, a boundary is not a rejection. It's your direction, right? If you're directed to have that healthy body, healthy lifestyle, don't let it get tainted. If you're focused on your business, keep building it. You have a direction. Remember, you're following your compass and you're following everything that you are aligned to do and want to do. One of my great phrases, I can't commit fully right now. That's easy. That's kind of a no, right? It's a no. Work with me. That doesn't align with my current priorities. Okay, we're putting a little crown on that no. You're actually defining what your status is. Hey, it's not my current priority. That might even encourage them to engage you when they feel it's your priority or help that other person to grow. So by saying we're working on getting rid of the guilt, this may help that person asking to start discovering what your boundaries are to get you to say yes. So you're actually helping someone grow. So there's no reason to feel bad about that. In fact, that's a hand up, over the shoulder, pat yourself on the back. That is a celebratory activity. You are actually helping someone else. Didn't know that, did you? You can be gentle. I appreciate it, but I need to decline. See, that's a nice, gentle no. And it really doesn't need an explanation. You're thankful, but I need to decline. See, this calm clarity in these three examples builds respect. Like I said, they're going to try to figure out what your current priority is. They want you at that event. You're a healthy person. You're a personality. You're a business builder. You're a solopreneur. You're doing all of these things successful. They're going to want you at their event. They want that poster person, if you will, to be at the event to bring others to show up. They're going to seek you and find out what's important to get you to say yes. Let them do that. And be gentle. You need to decline. Remember, you're building respect. So create intentional yeses. Your yeses should feel aligned, energized, and strategic. Your priorities, that should energize you. Hey, it doesn't meet my priorities right now. And smile while you're doing it. Say no and smile. Know what your course is and know when things are aligned. That's one of the biggest things for once I knew things didn't align and I started setting up those really hard parameters. Man, if it didn't align, it didn't take time. I wouldn't let it take the time. And be strategic. Maybe it's not something that fits on your it's a great opportunity, doesn't fit on your calendar. Be strategic. Maybe send them a nice thank you email. Hey, I really appreciate the invitation. Schedule conflict. Sorry it didn't work this time. I would be interested in the next event that you're having, that we can follow up and see that works out better. Again, that it aligns with what you're doing. See, when you say yes intentionally with a smile, the execution improves. The resentment decreases, and you'll find that the momentum of your personal growth in business increases because you're doing things better for you. You're feeling better about you. And you help maintain and keep that energy. And all of these no's and strategic yeses, again, they're keeping your energy level up. But if you're chasing that proverbial yes, where it's someone invites you and yes, I will be there, yes, and you're losing that recovery time, well, pretty soon your yeses are mumbled because you're striving to be something that, quite frankly, you're not meant to be. So, what did we learn? That execution improves how we say no with a smile. And you'll find that the resentment decreases and that your personal growth and your solopreneur, your business, everything that you're getting involved in is going to increase. And why do your boundaries increase performance? Well, see, without boundaries, your focus fragments and your stress rises. And quite frankly, the quality of you and your business drops. However, with boundaries, your priorities, they sharpen up and your energy stabilizes and your progress actually accelerates because you're saying yes to the things that align. The few things that align is what you're saying yes to. And you might have recalled that we talked about this in the anti-overwhelm workflow, as well as the launching without burnout. You've got to say no with a smile. And you've got to continuously know what is your course so that you know what aligns with it each time. Once you know that, and it's top of mind continuously, it's much easier to say no. Doesn't align with me. Yeah, I sounds like a great event. Just don't have it, don't have the bandwidth on the calendar. Oh, you've told me too late. Now they're going to be a little bit more strategic to give you some advance notice. Now you can give a no even quicker and not even have to think about it. Give them that advance no. And like I said, if it doesn't align, tell them, hey, yeah, I'm just not seeing where this is aligning right now. Thanks for the invite, but I'll have to decline. See, by doing this, it becomes so much more natural, and you're so much more able to build and focus on your business, as well as keep and maintain your personal life and your energy. Here's some common mistakes. Saying yes too quick. We've talked about several times. I love the pause when someone asks you, let me check. You could be looking at anything on your phone. I don't know what it is. Yeah, doesn't look good. Remember, we talked about time in a calendar, and I had mentioned strategically placing time blocks for personal activities and filling up your calendar. If you need reset time, recovery time, any of those things, remember we talked about that? Fill that up in your calendar. Not aggressively, but have it in there. That way, when you do moments like this, take that pause. You're not, let me look. Take that pause. Look at your calendar. When you see me time, personal time, recovery time, family time, whatever that other time is, yeah, I'm booked up. You honestly are booked up. You've made commitments already to yourself, to your family, to your business. Yeah, I'm booked up that day. It just doesn't work with the schedule. Maybe if I had some more advance notice, if it aligned with me, I might then segue into, boy, if I had some advance notice, I could try to put that into my calendar. Let me know next time you hold a great event like this. It sounds exciting. That's a no. It's a nice no. It's a gentle no. It's a no with a, well, I might be interested next time. Maybe next time still doesn't mesh with your schedule. Maybe it's just the wrong day of the week. I've had several of those. And I'm not going to compromise a certain day of the week for all the activities that are already in place, building my business and being in alignment. So if your event happens to be on a Monday, man, I'm so sorry. It doesn't align. You know what works best for me is Thursdays or Fridays. I can assure you that that individual that truly wants your involvement and you to say yes will figure out how to make that happen on a time that works best for you. See, it's a great measuring tool as well to see, was this just a, hey, we want you to show up, or hey, it's important to me that you show up. And I've also mentioned this before, is that you don't know what someone's willing to do unless you ask. So you're kind of asking that, hey, Thursdays and Fridays work better. Let me know if you plan on holding it on that day. You never know, they just might. Just because their own personal discovery that Mondays are kind of mundane and that more people could attend on a Thursday or Friday. So again, you can say no and you can have great reasons or no reasons. I'm just trying to help fill in some of those gaps that you may feel you don't need to pay attention to, like your calendar. So saying no, yes too quickly, take your time. Don't feel guilty about your boundaries. This is your family time. This is your time, me time, the time. Feeling guilty for boundaries? No, you've set these up. You've pre-planned your life and success on a calendar. Don't feel guilty for those boundaries. That's a common mistake. Another one's confusing availability with value. Okay, maybe there's an event coming up and maybe you do have some free time. You have free time at this moment, but do you have free time, as we talked about, for the time this actually consumes? See, it's a common mistake. You assume that, well, it's just going to be an hour of meet and greet, when that hour turned into 2 hours, turned into an after party, turned into half a day of recovery the next day because you stayed up late, maybe consumed something that didn't agree with you, and what time did it cost? So confusing availability with value. Did it bring value? Just because you're available doesn't necessarily mean it's going to bring you value in the long run. This probably should have been number one, but trying to avoid disappointing people. You're going to disappoint people every day. In fact, I'm sure if you and I had a conversation, you listening, watching this podcast, I'm sure I could probably figure out some way you've disappointed me and you didn't even know it. So you're going to disappoint people. Don't worry about trying to avoid it. Just take that off the table. You're going to disappoint people. And again, maybe this is a good measurement of the alignment and the parameters of that person in your life. If you disappoint them that easy and maybe they can't flex or find some adjustment and they resent you for not saying yes, probably not a good fit for your life, your personal energy, or your business. So it's kind of a win, right? Also, this is probably number one too, is making those emotional commitments under pressure. Quick scenario. Hopefully this guides you to measuring up how much pressure this actually is and changing the emotion to this commitment. So if you followed much of what I've shared with you in this and other podcasts where I talk about improving your life and eating right and having a morning routine that involves a little bit of exercise, some meditation, some journaling, some writing, some strategic thinking on your business. When you're doing all of that stuff, was any of that under pressure or were you fairly relaxed and strategic, creative, so on? So let me ask you how meeting someone after lunch or getting an email that says there's an event coming up, how you all of a sudden adapt and adopt some level of pressure to your day. How does that occur? So you haven't had any pressure up until this point. You've strategically, methodically, and thoughtfully have gone through and done each one of your things. Again, day in and day out, this is your routine. How did something all of a sudden show up in your life under pressure? That ought to be your first red flag, as well as the emotion that all of a sudden you feel that you need to attend some level of the commitment. Because did you feel any of the emotions prior to, or are you strategically going and following your alignment of just being healthy by working out and meditating in the morning, by strategically writing out your business plan, by looking at your 3 to 5 things, as I had mentioned in another thing, creating that workflow? You're doing that morning routine. How did all of a sudden something show up under pressure? Right? So that's already not good. and the emotional feeling. If you've exercised this muscle enough, you don't have the emotion there, but it can be a mistake. It can creep up. Maybe it is some influential person. You're like, wow, I'd really like to meet that person. I'd really like to network with that person. I'd really like to engage in that opportunity to even see that person. Well, if what they share is informational, okay, great, spend some time. But could that time be replaced by just spending 2 hours of reading maybe their blog or reading their book or catching one of their podcasts or something? Maybe they do a show or something that you could gain their knowledge without consuming half the day going to, say, a networking event. So again, you start eliminating the emotions of this decision and being a little bit more strategic, you're going to say no with a pretty solid plan. And also the not doing things at an impulse. Let's take this in another direction because I think it applies as well. Say someone offers you a partnership opportunity. I'm laughing because I've been there several times, but I'll try to keep it easy and light. Someone offers you a partnership opportunity. I can share with you that my response was an immediate yes. I was so excited that someone wanted to partner with me, pair up. And two minds are greater than one. Two people are better than one. Strategic as far as working on the business. You work on this aspect, I work on that aspect. And, we ride the super highway of success. Overcommitment. When someone wanted to partner with, I overcommitted to all the things. I could do this. I could do this. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we can do that. And I'd be willing to do it. Only to find that I was stressing later because I took on so much that this partnership wasn't an opportunity. But that was the old response. The more strategic response is evaluating the alignment and looking at the person, having if I did devote time to this and even utter the yes, was evaluate the alignment. Hey, let's sit down, have a meeting, no more than an hour, and I would ask those personal questions just to understand, was this person even in alignment with me? Rather than getting into the business and merging and finding the what I thought cohesiveness of the business to occur wasn't occurring and being frustrated with that. But if I asked those simple questions and evaluated the alignment, I would have known right away that we weren't looking at the same level and measure of success. Measure the bandwidth, right? What is this opportunity of this partnership going to do? Is it super wide? And is it going to be overwhelming? Or is it just enough that it's going to create that flow? And it's going to be an easy opportunity. Now, not to say easy is always the case, but just that it's going to have a better flow. It's not going to be constrictive to what your path of business is. By the way, you could probably also place this into relationships when we're talking about personal health. The same thing is the alignment, evaluate alignment, measure the bandwidth, and then third, clarify the expectations. What are you looking to see in the partnership opportunity? What are the end results of the partnership opportunity? Like, what do you want to see the success look like? And be clear about that. Again, same thing with a relationship. Evaluate, measure, and clarify. Because once you set this up and see, you may find it's not such a good fit. And then you can decide intentionally whether this is a good fit. And the results, well, it's less chaos. going to have better execution, and it's going to create that stronger focus for this business opportunity or a relationship opportunity, right? So evaluate, measure, clarify, and decide. Once you've done this a few times, it almost becomes pretty automatic. You're going to evaluate, going to measure, going to clarify. Because you will have known once you've done this that it's eliminated the chaos. You're executing more fluidly, again, because you're precise, you're measured at the 3 to 5 things, and you're focused. Applying this to personal and business and even business joining opportunities, I think you will find that your life's going to expand when your decisions become intentional. Strategic yes creates that courageous no. And that is how focus becomes freedom. I hope you've enjoyed this excellent episode of Ask Adam Live. Now take this information, share it with others, and go out and let us make it a great day.